All right. Hello, ladies. It's Melanie here and Christina and Krystal. How are you guys today?
Great.
Good. So today we're going to talk about being seen and seeing, or how about see and be seen? So as we go about our lives in this world, it's nice when we feel people see us and not just physically or not even just our voice and not even the words we say, but like some people can see and perceive us on so many levels. And it's so cool to be around people like that. You just feel instantly loved and you feel connected, and it's awesome. And the more I feel like I'm seeing others, the more I'm attracting others into my experience that I believe see me. And it's really exciting. So, what has been your experience with seeing and being seen?
Yeah. So I think the most profound experience that I've had of contemplating this in the way that we're speaking of it today is
Mhm.
2004 was a really challenging year for me. I had been married for about 15 years. My father was had been ill for many, many years, and so my father actually passed away in April of 2004. And then in July of 2004, my ex-husband initiated the conversation about divorce. And it wasn't even separation with counseling. It was like, okay,
Wow.
we're done. And I also went into perimenopause very
Oh,
early. I was 40. So here I am, and I didn't realize my grandmother and mother had both started menopause at 40.
wow.
So it was it was such an intense time because
Mhm.
my kids were 11 and 14, and it I'm still grieving my dad, and there was also a bit of a separation from a spiritual path that I had been on for over 20 years, where the
Oh.
spiritual teacher wasn't as available. So I didn't
Mhm.
feel like I could even turn to that. So it forced me to turn within. And I had been reliant on, having a spiritual teacher or, you know, something outside of myself to turn to for
Right.
answers. So I ended up doing a series of different healing kinds of things. I did a lot of Ayurvedic stuff, and one of the most profound things I did was to visit a woman who's not too far from me here in Sonoma. Her name's Lorelei, an amazing intuitive who does body work, but she does energy readings. And I had won a gift certificate to see her, coincidentally.
Yeah.
So she basically gave me this gift of this incredible being who I still see her now, like, 17, 18 years later, every couple months, because she started to just, and she reads from a very pure place. I wasn't wanting anyone to tell me what to do or to give me answers. I didn't even realize I was just wanting to be seen because I felt so
Mm.
not seen at the end of my marriage, and
Yeah.
maybe myself. I wasn't really being who I really am. So I wasn't even on a true level. I wasn't seeing myself. And so
Mhm.
the experience of having somebody with their eyes closed, literally looking at your energy and just saying, hello, like, hello. And and like, there you are. Say your name, say your name, say your name again. I see you, and
Yeah.
you're vibrating at this color. And there was something so incredibly powerful about that experience that I felt like I was home, and I was reconnected with really myself. I was being reconnected with energy that was witnessing and seeing me on
Mm.
such a deep level. And, so that went on, the reading went on for many, 2 hours at
Mm.
least the first time. And
Wow.
so there were a ton of insights, but it was never about, again, it was basically just like my body and my spirit was like a movie that was being watched. And I was telling myself what I wanted and needed, which is what I wanted. I
Mm.
didn't want a counselor or someone outside of myself to tell me what I needed, but it was such a profound experience. And I think it just really started my awareness of the spiritual journey in a different way, that it's
Mhm.
really my own inner self that I was longing for. and connection with God through my own inner awareness that is within me and within every other being and every other thing. And it was so profound. And I'll never forget like that first reading. And I still go, like I said, every couple months, and it's always that hello, like hello. And it's like, somebody sees me, because how many times are you going throughout you guys see me, and certain friends see me, and
Right.
certain people see me, but it's way less than the number of people that are in your life that really see you.
Right.
But now that I see me, like you said, Melanie, more and more, you're a magnet. You're an energy magnet. The resonance draws in others that see you, and it just was so powerful. And I hope that people, you know, that everyone has that experience, because it's very profound.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's what awakening is all about. You start to see not only yourself, which is part of this journey, is like self-examination, but like everything around you. And you also start to see, like you were talking about the kale that one time, you start to perceive the beauty of everything and like how magnificent it all is and how it can communicate with us. So it's amazing. And they also say like good leaders are people that like hear you, they're good listeners. What to me that means is they're opening themselves up to really see others. And I think the opposite happens a lot, where leaders are just kind of pushing out orders and telling people what to do, and I think that works for us, short amount of time, but it's the ones that really see those they interact with. They see their clients, they see their employees, they see their family members. Like those are powerful people. And so it's neat. And I love how, yeah, as you were awakening, you really wanted to be seen, and then you were able to find people that could see you. And I think we need to seek that out, because if we're not seeing it ourselves, there are wonderful people around that can. And I know I need that all the time, where it's like, oh, I need a little validation, from others, sometimes, especially working alone. So that's really neat.
I think ultimately as well, people, like you were talking about the leaders and such.
Yeah.
And I think that, yes, I agree. There can be such great people that are able to manage different things in different situations, and they can do that well. But ultimately, all of that comes from inside. So even though they're doing it well and they can navigate that, if they actually took the opportunity to look at themselves internally and to kind of turn that mirror around, it makes that person that much more profound and that much even better at navigating things and seeing other people, But it starts, I feel that the best place is to look internally, and
Mm-hmm.
that.
Well, and I think what we were talking about that triggered this topic was how I gave an experience of how I projected my pain onto a situation, how I've had some pain in the past around relationships, and then I start dating someone else, and then they act a certain way, and then it triggered all these things where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is betrayal, this is pain, and all of a sudden these things start coming to me. And then when I look at the situation rationally, it actually was all just my pain. And unfortunately, this innocent person had to be sort of the receiver of that. And so I think that's one thing we need to be aware of, that like most people that I interact with, unless they're really close friends or family, but they are projecting pain onto each other, onto me. So how do we deal with people like that? It's because we know what's happening. We know it's their own stuff, but it gets hurled onto us sometimes, and it happens all the time.
I think we each do that, as much as we are, going along in our lives and progressing and really making an earnest effort to grow spiritually and discover ourselves. You have days where you're just off. Yesterday was just a funky day, and I kind of knew it was a funky day because I didn't sleep, which is kind of rare for me, and
Yeah.
so I was tired, and who knows exactly what initiated it, but I didn't do my normal things that I can do to kind of shift and pull out of it. And so it's literally like putting on glasses that are cloudy. And so everything I saw was looking through this cloudy film of glasses. And so when I would make a call, normally I am a little calmer, and I just, I'm kind, and I just communicate, and I don't get all pissy about something, except unless I'm calling AT&T or something like that.
Comcast.
Yeah, those things drive me nuts. Those audio recordings.
I'm putting off a Comcast call.
Person, like, give me a person.
Yeah.
But you can when you're in the middle of it and then you're trying to call, it's a little different than calling from a calmer place. But it just was a funky, and so I kind of had to laugh a little bit at the way that I really created my day to go. And so, everybody's we're each learning and growing and bumping into each other and bumping into each other's pain and issues. And so sometimes somebody can forcefully push something around you. And if you're just this open receiver and you haven't done anything to stay grounded within yourself, it's going to come in and hit you, because we're energetic beings more than we're physical beings. And so, that's why we've talked about tools to kind of ground and stay centered and, surround yourself with light, whatever it is, or even just say, I'm going to have a positive day, or, have a positive outlook. But it can be really intense. But I think the more we're aware that this is what's happening, and they are not their pain, we are not our pain. We might be having an off day. There could be a ton of planetary influences going on. Who knows? It ultimately doesn't matter what's going on, but the more you can find a way to come back to that center through whatever practice you have, or affirmations, or like last night, thankfully I ordered these really powerful, it's a product where you soak in the tub with this detoxification energy oil, and it came last night, and oh my God, it was so what I needed. It was so powerful, because I felt like everything was just, all of it was just coming out of my pore. I just felt like it was releasing. And then when I literally got out of the water, it was like a light green color.
Wow.
And I had a metal smell. Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really powerful. But
so it's a heavy metal bath soak.
Yeah.
Right. And it was great. Yeah. So I'm going to try the same one you did. I think that's
it was great.
Awesome.
And excuse me, I liked it. And but so again, finding those things that we know can bring us back to center, and just kind of witnessing it, or even witnessing it if you can with some humor, even though you're kind of angry or pissy, or somebody else is coming at you. I think you can shift things. You can just take a breath, just take some deep breaths, and just realize sometimes we're making things a lot more intense or worse than is necessary.
Because we're not seeing the other. Sometimes we're like, oh, I'm seeing myself as a victim right now. And sometimes you can make a good case, but we're not seeing them as these complex, infinite souls, here working through karma. And I think of like the more confused times in my life, and when I wasn't seen and I wasn't seeing others. And so I really can't judge others that are in that spot.
So I think this is really pertinent. And I know Randy's not on our call today, but she shared this with us. And I think it's important to understand, because Melanie, I can't remember the exact question that you just asked us, but it was something in effect of, as others are projecting, onto you, whatever their pain might be in the situations and things that are happening in day-to-day life. It's like, oh, how do you deal with this? It really helps, I think, to understand this, and I'll read it. A different version of you exists in the minds of everyone who knows you. Says, I read a book that blew my mind. The main character goes crazy when he realizes no one really knows him. The gist is that the person you think of as yourself exists only for you, and even you don't really know who that is. Every person you meet, have a relationship with, or make eye contact on the street with creates a version of you in their heads. You're not the same person to your mom, your dad, your siblings than you are to your coworkers, your neighbors, or your friends. There are 1,000 different versions of yourself out there in people's minds. A you exists in each version, and yet your you, yourself, isn't really a someone at all. And I think that goes back to, all of it, how you see people, how you see a situation, how someone sees you, and that time of your life. And especially if you haven't seen someone in many, many years, and maybe you talk to them, often or something, but it's like they're going to see what they see and how they see, and you have to allow that, to kind of be. Mm-hmm. I think that that's really important.
It's like the quote, what people think of you is none of your business.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
yeah. That's a good one. I love that I love that so much because it feels so valid. I'm coming into my 40th high school reunion in a few weeks, and I know that 7/8 of those people have no idea who I am now. There's a few that I'm still close with that get me. One I'm going with, and one's in another state, and I won't be there, but I'll just try my best to connect and meet people where they are, and really, genuinely see how they're doing and just connect. That's why you come together. It's not at this stage of our lives. It's not about who has the most money or who, done the best or who has the hottest bride, or it's none of that. Hopefully at this age, hopefully it's not.
Yeah.
Whereas it can be when you're younger.
There's a lot of people that do not outgrow that stuff.
Yeah, but it's I just love that because it's true. Like people see the fraction of you that they want to see, or what you show them, what you allow to be seen. And that's why, for me, the greatest spiritual journey is to be, again, David White's quote, "Be yourself, everyone else is already taken," to be more and more and more of who you are. And then I really do, like we talked about on one reading with Randy, I feel like we're each a light on that dandelion that lights up and becomes illuminated and then interconnects with other. And it's really like, I think, Gaia, God, Spirit, everything is rooting for each of us to wake up and be who we authentically are. And I think that's so important. That's really the journey. That's my journey. It's not how long I can sit with my legs crossed or how long I can, go without food but it's just playing with who you are and giving yourself a break and really discovering. It can be really fun and playful if you don't take it too seriously.
And it's definitely an inner work, because I think if we're looking to see that reflected outside of us, then that might not produce anything. But what I think is interesting is, like, we live in a culture right now that seems so distracted, and it's hard now for someone to zoom in and focus, even like with dating. They have multiple dating apps. They, now women, it's just like a catalog, and you can swipe through and pick the one. And then it's like, are you really seeing those people? And I think that's why there's so much pain around the genders right now, is because we're not taking the time to really see each other. And I think at different time periods when we didn't have all this distraction, we were able to see and focus in on either woodworking or hanging the laundry. And now it's like we're kind of, and I'm just saying this because it's how I am, and I do digital marketing and all that. And it's like, it's so easy to just be so distracted that you're not really seeing a lot of things, and you're not seeing the beauty and the wonderful people around you and the experiences around you. So I've been really trying to consciously call that in. And when I'm talking to someone, like, I focus on them, and that's so cool, because that's when I get like my most psychic insight. Is like, oh, I've shut out the rest of the world, and now I see this person. And now I see all these other layers of the person. just kind of psychically. And it's just such a really cool experience. Like for the longest time, I was like, I really want my psychic abilities. I really want my psychic abilities. How do I get them? You know, but the truth is you got to just start seeing things. You got to focus and be present. And it's so hard this day and age with all the distractions. So that's why I love that we're having this conversation, because it's hard to see, at least for me.
Yeah, you can't, and you know, it goes without saying that, you know, we're busy. People are busy, so
Yeah.
you know, I resisted having a smartphone for the longest time because I didn't want to be distracted. I didn't want to have to. I didn't text people. I don't text, and then at some point something shifts, and it's just not practical to not text. I mean, some
Right.
people can't. You know, my daughter's in a PhD program. Like if I'm going to call her, she's not going to pick up the phone most likely, but she'll
Right.
say in a class or in a meeting or teaching a class, I'll get back to you. And she can do that quickly through a text. So sometimes it's efficient, but you almost never are going to get the essence or the true truth behind it, because especially when people aren't speaking in full sentences and they're, you know, using what I don't know what the term is, but you know, BRB, you know,
BRB.
it's slang. It's like, and like my kids were, I think I mentioned this before, but they were laughing at me because they said I would message and I'd put a thumbs up, and they were laughing saying like, yeah, mom puts a thumbs up thinking that means that, yeah, right. And I'm
Cool.
like, doesn't it mean like, yeah, all right, cool? They're like, no, it's more like, yeah, man, like we're done. And I'm
Really?
like, well, who told me? I mean, they're laughing, and it was so funny. And it's like, so they have their own kind of language, you know, the
Oh,
younger generation. And it's really funny, but like, you know, you don't see facial expressions and you don't hear
right.
the intonation in the voice. And like we talked about, you could say something with one intonation and it's hopeless and depressed, but you can say it just with a different intonation and it's hopeful. And I think there's a lot of missing out on that. And so this is lovely to see your faces and expressions and hear voices, and it's going to be even lovelier when we are all together in Tahoe in a cabin. I mean, then you're really connecting. But
Yeah.
you know, so it's I long for those connections versus lots of more and more and more distracted conversations.
Yeah.
It's draining. That's more draining for me, honestly.
Right. And I think one of the ways I wasn't seeing people, like I think of children, you know, for the longest time, I was like, I'm the adult and children need to do what I say because I'm older. And so, and there's a lot of truth in that. I do have more experience. But what I'm realizing now is I'm seeing my children and seeing all children, especially little like newborn babies. I see an infinite, amazing soul on like a journey, and maybe they have like so many more gifts. And I mean, it's not a hierarchy or anything, but like even a newborn baby can just be this amazing, powerful creature. And I love that. Creature is a weird word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just love that I'm seeing more now. And as I see more, my heart opens more and I can love more, because and when we see people more, we see all the different aspects of their pain, which mirrors our own pain and experiences too. And so that's why I need to get back into that heart space, back into that seeing, especially with the difficult people in my life, because they're projecting a very familiar pain onto me. And it's familiar because I've been there, you know, maybe in this lifetime or something. But if I feel it, that means it's part of me too. So
So with that being said, doesn't it, or you tell me your experience, but when you're able to see someone in that light, just as you described, it's definitely, you know, more empathetic. Don't you notice a shift in your own body, almost immediate? Like you
absolutely.
can be in a confrontational situation, you know, whether you're face to face or over the phone. But when you take that first step back and you think, okay, this is not about me. You know, what it could be anything. It can be the operator on the phone or whatever. It could be our spouse. It could be our child. It's like, oh, once you take that step back and you're able to put yourself in a different seat, don't you feel your body just shifting and changing, and a little bit of anxiety, you know, kind of leaves, and the shoulders feel softer, your gut feels softer. I mean, that's my recommendation for so many people is, you know, you get in situations and people are just ranting like, I can't believe this one did this and this one did that and this has happened. And if you're able to put a little different perspective on it and just say, you know, to that person, maybe they were having a bad day, or, you know, gosh, they don't have the same things or privileges that you do. Their privileges are much different. Maybe they're even more privileged if someone was to look at it in that way. But it all comes with something from somewhere. And so I just feel if a person has a goal, if I were to say I have a goal, my goal is to have joy in life, right? To feel good, physically, to feel good mentally, energetically. And if that's ultimately your goal and you're running into situations time and time again, it's like a lot of those situations you can't avoid. You know, you're in a relationship with someone and that relationship has to continue for whatever reason. You have to step back and see it from that empathetic lens and take a look at it differently. You don't have to, but it definitely brings a little bit more joy, you know, into your life and into your body and into the situation. And then from that place, you know, when your cup fills up and your cup fills up and then all of a sudden it's overflowing, that's when it spills out to everyone else. So when you hold that angst and you just say, gosh, why are they being that way towards me? It's cutting off that flow. Your cup is just getting depleted, all of it, and it's not being filled back up. So I don't know. I think that's a different perspective to look at difficult situations with others.
Yeah.
And then also we've talked about compression breakthrough and or dark night of the soul. I used to be the one that wanted to fix or help or rescue or whatever word, like just, you know, interject and intervene. But sometimes just seeing someone who's really, you know, escalating, and they're literally, if you can just, you know, witness it from a different perspective, they're going through something that could be a huge breakthrough for them. And they may, and you really, the highest thing is to allow somebody to go through their process and learn their lessons in the way that they do. You know, it doesn't mean that you can't be kind or offer a kind word or love towards them, but to stop that process interferes with a potential really important learning period. And sometimes it's just a matter of witnessing it with less emotion and just compassion, but just more detachment. And that can help sometimes too. And sometimes even with yourself, have a little more detachment and just understand that there's something that you're learning. It's everything's about learning. It's about discovery and learning, and no judgment, and it can be really powerful.
I know it's interesting because, you know, you see the black and white checkerboard in the Freemason stuff, and that represents like duality. And then you see the all-seeing eye, and that represents sort of observing that it kind of all is a game. And if you're always looking from that eye, you know, at the top of the pyramid, you can kind of detach yourself from it. And so that's how we see I don't even know if it's the word detachment is right. Well, I guess it is. You're not really investing emotionally in that.
Yeah, it may not be the perfect word, but it's just witnessing.
Yeah,
Without,
yeah, because you can still feel the emotions. Like I can share that. And I do think like I can revisit it and I can be like, oh, the sadness and pain that you're going through. Like I remember that. So it's not detached. Yeah, it's
no, so you can have compassion or empathy, but
yeah.
but I think what I was trying to say, maybe it didn't come through, is you know, if somebody would have interrupted my process where I was having that moment, there was a very specific moment I've talked about in other videos, it wouldn't have allowed me to have the incredible breakthrough that I did. And the kindest thing that they could do was to look over, and it was two facilitators of a week-long workshop I was at Esalen, and they just witnessed and they saw, but they didn't, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to come over and help me. It's like they saw, they didn't even smile or wave. They just they witnessed, turned away, went the complete opposite way. And you know, I might have in the moment felt abandoned or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was the very best thing that could have happened, because it led to me going deeper and deeper, deeper within myself, which had this incredible breakthrough and understanding. And I guess that's what I'm saying is rather than thinking there's something wrong that you have to fix, or there's something wrong with feeling anything, we're going to feel anger, we're going to feel sadness, we're going to feel fear, we're going to feel anxiety. These are human emotions. Hopefully we won't live there, but it'll breeze through, and we'll get to the point where we can go back into joy and balance and centeredness. But we're going to feel those things being in a human body. We just are. That's just reality and normal. And I, you know, the goal, each person's goal may be different. You know, some people may need to experience that on a deep level so that they can become the best counselor to help others through a situation. You're such a better teacher when you've gone through something and you have that memory and that experience. So I think, yeah.
Yeah. So to see more, it's kind of like we have to change and shift our beliefs and our perspectives. So do you guys remember times in your life where you didn't see people as well? Kind of like I was saying, when I used to think of children, like, oh, I'm the adult, so I'm older, so I'm better or whatever. I just know more. When the truth is, they're infinite souls too, and that's a shift in belief that I had to make. Are there times in your life where you remember not really seeing people, and then now you're like, oh wow, now I kind of see more? Maybe when we were teenagers or children, you see your parents, or you see things a certain way, or maybe we get kind of, I know in my early 20s, I think this happens to a lot of people in their early 20s. They really start to hyper analyze the way their parents raised them. And I know I was a lot more critical in my early 20s, and now I'm at a place where, now that I have an 18-year-old son, I've kind of been through raising a kid, like, wow, that's really hard. And my parents were amazing and they did the best they could with what they knew. But it is funny how my perspective has changed, and now I see them more. A lot of it had to be through my own experiences, but I can open my heart more and I can love more, and I see them as more multidimensional. So are there things that have helped you guys to change your beliefs around how you saw people or situations?
Well, for me, I can look back now and see how I did not see other people and did not have patience for that. I used to be a very impatient person.
Me too.
Very tolerable. I was not very tolerant of behaviors or of things. And I got into, with my career, I was in a position where I could fire anybody I wanted to and hire anybody I wanted to. Yeah. And I wasn't really, there were many times when I wasn't seeing where those people were at and what their needs were. And sadly, I was just looking at more of the bottom line for the company, thinking that's the most important thing. That's why I was put in this position, is to, make certain that that's what was happening. And I look back and I had mentors and people above me who also did the same. They would flip and flop, back and forth. But when it came down to it, I was very appreciative for the people that did take the time, to see me. And so as I grew and I matured, I started to see others, and I had much more enjoyable experience at the end of, that career because of that, because I didn't go for that traditional person, or I don't even know how to put the words to it, but I actually sat down as I'm interviewing people and truly listened and saw and was much more intuitive. And I didn't even realize that now until right now when you asked that question.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's directly related to, again, back to when I wasn't seeing myself and I had all these, I'm a this and I'm a that and I do this and I do that and I do this, but I was so many layers of things kind of filtering or protecting me from really being who I was, then I for sure didn't see people. And I was actually a therapy director in my mid 20s. So I had a staff of maybe 10 people. And again, same thing, Krystal, you get caught up in the business of it and you're trying to, prove yourself as a leader and yada, yada, yada. And I did all the procedural things. Great. I can organize and come up with protocols and all of that. But what I didn't do as well, that I would do completely differently now, was just connect with each person and their essence and what their gifts are and what they can contribute. And it has maybe nothing to do with education or where they got their degree. It's who they are and what their true genius and gifts are. And I think that's where the world is going to more. I know we've talked about that, Melanie, with our kids, and a lot of these millennials are finding kind of their own way in life, and it's maybe a little bit less typical than would have been encouraged even 5 years ago. I've got one on one end of the spectrum and one on the other, and I think the most important thing is just to allow everyone to be who they are, and really connect with them and see, that the happiest times I've had working either under someone or having not the word, I don't like the word under, but it's a collaboration. It doesn't really matter who the boss is, but you're being able to fully give, and you're being able to fully live and be alive and use your gifts, and it's appreciated what you're giving. And those are the most alive times I've had in life, whether it was in a work or a volunteer situation or whatever. And I think that is like the key, is that really just,
And
again, being who you really are.
And it's so different than the world we live in. And like, that's why we have to bring this archetype out more, because in a corporate environment, maybe mothers with children are not necessarily the best for the bottom line to hire, right? But we live in a world where giving birth is part of the human experience, but yet we still need money, so it's crazy.
There's out-of-the-box ways. Like there's a local family that does real estate in my town, and they're very, the whole family, it's the mother, the father, the daughter-in-law's involved, the son's involved. It's an extended family, and now the son has now had a baby, so they've shifted so that the babies are allowed in the office, and it's very not what you would expect in a professional office, but it's working for them because people appreciate that. Who doesn't appreciate a business that opens their professional office, up to 3 toddlers and an infant? It's like, and they all work. It's like it's a communal kind of thing, and it's really wonderful. And I know, just this is not related to exactly that kind of situation, but I was with my son's girlfriend about a month ago, and we make these leather collars
With the feathers.
Yeah, actually, I have one over here.
Yeah, I have the armband, right? Yes, exactly.
Okay, they're called cosmic ties. So they're fun. And so and I'm trying to help her put herself through school. So we were at a festival in San Francisco, and we started talking with a woman at the Laurel Birch exhibit, and just talking with her, and I was really connecting with her. And then I stepped back to let Jessica talk with her, and she just was really seeing Jessica. I could see this beautiful interaction and thing happening where she was really seeing who she was, and it was really, really beautiful. And then we were about to leave, and she said, "Oh, hang on a minute, I have something for you." And she pulls this little bag out, and it said, there was a little card that says, "Let your spirit blossom today." And she gave her this little heart
Aw.
that says, I see you.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it was so sweet, and she was so excited, and it was such a simple, what a beautiful thing for, it's actually the daughter of Laurel Birch. Her name's Erin, and she had made these to give to people when she had like a heart connection with somebody, and
Aw.
to say, I see you. And so I got to witness just having this experience of being seen
Aw.
by someone in the community. It was just really beautiful, and I think, those are like really magical moments, and
That's the
it's
most
such a,
love. Yeah. You can give
so
to
like,
someone is to see them.
yeah, like you said, Melanie, with the babies, like, you
Yeah.
used to, when you're busy, you hear babies, it's like, oh, this baby's crying. Like, I'm so done with that, or whatever. I mean, those are the kinds of things that could run through your mind. But I like lock eyes with babies now, and
Me too.
they smile, and they're like, yeah, you see me. I see,
Yeah.
like, I see you. And they're like, yeah, you see me. I see you too. And it's like, powerful little spirit, and it is so fun. Well, kids coming in are just outrageously powerful.
They were so
And
close to
what if
source.
everybody looked at the world that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Can you
Christina,
imagine?
you are so good at that. I remember driving home from Utah and the questions you were asking Hannah, like you open your eyes wide open and you got to really see my daughter, and she's
She's
really
amazing.
creative, but you
That
saw
girl's
her.
amazing. Oh, I totally saw her. She writes these
Yeah.
incredible stories. It's like otherworldly, and these characters, and it's so rich. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like what an incredible imagination.
But
It's
so many adults think it's just kid stuff, just like, oh, just she's writing.
powerful.
And
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
I couldn't do that. I could not do that. That was powerful. So
and as a
I'm,
mother, we're like, yeah, we see our own kids, hopefully we see our own kids. But it was such a wonderful gift of love that you gave her. And that was such a perfect example of how we can see
yeah,
others.
yeah,
And
that
gave,
was fun. So a 10-hour car ride was fun.
yeah, it was great. No, I loved your follow-up questions and I could tell you cared. And it was really neat. That's a wonderful gift. So yeah, we're kind of living in a world that they really seem to care a lot about the bottom line. And I love that you mentioned the business, right? They work in this symbiotic system together. If somebody loses a pet, hopefully the coworkers can be like, why don't you go take the day off? Or, it's like, that's how humans should, and I think want to interact with each other. But we have this weird addiction to money, and we see each other, a lot of people see each other as commodities. And I'm really excited to kind of break away from all that. And I'm not sure how. I mean, maybe we can get into cryptocurrency and exchanging energy in some other ways,
I
but
think
just,
we're going there. I think that's where we're going. That's where this new world, this new earth is going, and
yeah,
it has to. It makes sense. It's not. It's coming out of competition and coming into a collaboration model. And if you
yeah,
really don't have to fight and scrap and fight
right.
for everything, and the bottom, and you have free energy, and you have things that you don't have to fight for so much.
Yeah.
You're not struggling, and you can really be who you are. I mean, what a beautiful.
And
And
honor.
that all comes back to our fear, our
Yeah.
fear-based everything, all that you were just talking about in business and operating and making things happen and who has what. It's from this level of fear that, there isn't abundance. And that's all we have is abundance. We are
Yeah.
such an abundant society and people, and we possess that within us, a lot of abundance. And so when we're able to step back from that fear and realize we are safe and we are loved and we are seen,
Mm-hmm.
then things definitely flow so much better.
And to be seen means, yeah, breaking out of programs and to see that the child is not going to be able to contribute to the bottom line, and the elderly population is not going to be able to contribute to the bottom line, nor should they have to. Like, to really see each other is to create a world where we create harmonious interactions in whatever phase or place we're at, so we can all just enjoy this experience. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of work to do. But again, like in every video, it always comes back to healing ourselves within, and then we will see that reflected back to us in the outer world. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. So I will pick the final word, and then Christina, and then Krystal. So the word I'm going to go with, just to make one more point on this, because we didn't go too far into it, is projections. So I chose that word not because it's a positive word. It can be positive. You can project love. But I think when we're not seeing others or trees or the beauty around us, I think it's because we are projecting our own stuff and we're not seeing ourselves clearly. So I don't know if that made sense, but projections happen when we're not seeing and we're not being seen. Mm-hmm. I think I butchered that, but whatever. Yeah. Christina.
So I'm having a hard time thinking of a word, a specific word, but I think it's, again, I might have even said this last time, but I think it's again like perspective and perceptions, and just I said the same thing last time. It must be up for me, but just it's just shifting just a little bit, just a little bit, just having, maybe stepping back and just having a moment to understand that things are not maybe the way, just as each person is seeing me as a fragment of who I am, I'm seeing each situation in a fragmented, compartmentalized manner. And so you can understand there's so much more to the story. There's so much more to the backstory and the future trajectory of any situation, and to not to pluck that one moment out and make a judgment and then react based on that. I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today my word is really simple, and I don't have a lot to expand upon it, but just love. Just love each other and understand, and even especially in those times that are just the most frustrating, drop all the stories, drop everything that's around, and just sit in some love for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. Okay, well, thanks, guys. And until next time.
Happy weekend.
Bye-bye.